Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor. Welcome back to Monday Mastery, where we take an intuitive read on the energies that we've just currently experienced, where we're at right now, and call in a little timeless guidance on how to move forward. Sometimes we review just a little bit of solar weather or astrology, but know that that is not necessarily discounting the message that whenever you find this, it is right for you. I appreciate your patience with me. I did take the week off last week, and I have not done that in years since starting this business. So it was much needed reprieve, and hopefully I can get through this video today without having to clear my throat or cough too much. So being able to recover fully is very helpful. And so I appreciate your patience with the time off. So not much to speak of from a solar weather perspective for the last 2 weeks. We had very minimal solar flares, and yet the energies were very intense. Ever since that Sagittarius new moon, we had one of those moments where it seems we go into the underworld for a bit, and the shadows are brought up for us to see what needs to be cleared. And that's part of what we have just experienced. We did have a X 2.29 solar flare on Sunday yesterday. And so that was probably the most significant. Other than that, we had a handful of C flares every day. Increasingly throughout this past week, we did increase in C flares. The highest Monday was 8. And then into Thursday, we had 12, and Friday 15, and Saturday 17. So there does seem to be a little bit of an uptick, but again, not much to speak of. I haven't spoken about the Schumann resonance in a while, because we do know that that is localized storms usually that tend to spike the Schumann resonance, but we did see an increase, at least on the Italian measures, pretty consistently all the way through from December 4th to December 6th, with a sort of a break and a little bit more on the 7th. So that's highly unusual. If you want to dig into the science behind that, check out Stefan Burns. I do want to caution you around people who think it's just spiritual, that there is a lot of scientific evidence as to what causes these spikes. And in some cases, like this past week, there is not something that we can point to. And so that would suggest that there was a collective intensity that we were dealing with, which I think we all, I'm kind of like the canary in the coal mine. I'm sure you can relate as well if you're sensitive to these energies. We were going through something challenging these past 10 days or so since that Sagittarius new moon. So know that you are not alone. If your shadows were brought up, if you were triggered, if you felt you were purging, if you were sick, just recognize that it is a necessary part of our growth and our journey, that sometimes when we get pulled into the underworld, it's helping us see what is holding us back, where we're not free. And so those big triggers or those extended periods in the shadows or in the funk really do end up leading to a big gift. And I'm sure you've likely noticed that as the light of the moon starts to return from that new moon, clarity starts to come in. So very likely you have a better understanding of where you stand today relative to where you were 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago. And this gift helps us see where we have resistance, where we have shadows, where we have things living inside of us that are holding us back. And so while it's not fun to be pulled into the underworld or have to be triggered or have to get sick or have an extended period of rest, for some of us who are high achievers, we like to always be on the go. It's a hard thing to be put on pause for a bit. But again, look at what has come from that. What is your big aha? What clarity? What have you moved through? What did you discover that you are still believing or that is still living inside of you? And if you haven't yet been able to gain that clarity, really look for, what are you resisting? Your resistance is going to point to where you are not free. It's going to point to something that is living inside of your body. And if you're new to me, I do something called trauma spotting. And it is a blend of brain spotting and somatic experiencing and inner child work and internal family systems and energy healing. And what I've come to understand through the beautiful gift of the divine and the insight that has been brought through after helping almost 1,000 people now heal their trauma is that the body has its own consciousness. There is literally proven bodily memory, And there's plenty of research out there around the fact that bodily memory exists, and yet very little research around how is it stored, what is the mechanism, and how do we work through it. And this is what connects very beautifully to Carl Jung's work in the shadow, is that we can have embodied beliefs that were developed or ingrained pre-consciousness or even pre-language. And so they live in our body without our awareness of it. That is the subconscious or the shadow, if you will. And so learning to work with the body in moments like these, when you are pulled under and you feel that there's something coming up, but you can't quite put your finger on it, or it's something old that you feel like you've worked through, recognize that if you've worked through something with your cognitive function, with your executive smart brain, then that does not necessarily mean that you have addressed the subconscious, the limbic system, or especially the bodily memory that has its own memory outside of the nervous system and outside of the brain. And so until we learn to get into the body and learn how to listen to the body and let the body work through and close those stress responses, or even just deliver the insight, then we will be limited. And I used to speak a lot about around trauma, and I don't love that word because not everybody can relate to or resonate with that word. But what we can relate to is being limited. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go into the depths of old traumatic memories, but rather just being present in the body and learning how to discern those messages and being able to quiet the mind is going to bring to your awareness where you are limited and how you become limitless, because the universe is you inverse, right? As within, so without. These things that live inside of us that we are not cognitively aware of, consciously aware of, hold great weight over us. And so in these moments of being pulled into the underworld or experiencing triggers or setbacks are a beautiful gift that show us what needs to be addressed, things that we may not be able to find with our conscious thought. So in this moment, notice, what are you resisting? If you're not feeling clarity and you're not feeling relief yet, look at what you are resisting. Look at those should and shouldn't statements, right? It should have gone this way, or it shouldn't have gone that way, or people should do this. And really look at, what are you resisting? Because in that resistance is where you are not free. Right? When we want to create something, we're trying to draw something into our life, it is the absence of resistance that allows it to come in. Desire plus non-resistance equals the desired result. All right. So really look at that resistance piece and recognize that you're thrashing in the water, right? We're thrashing around instead of learning to just back float, to love what is, to be present with all that is, including discomfort. That's the back float, right? If it's not happening, it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It just means it's not going to happen yet. So really let go of the how and the when, and just be present with what the universe, the inverse of you is trying to show you. Trust and allow, right? Life is going to show you where you have that resistance, where you are holding yourself back, where you are preventing yourself from receiving and experiencing what you are trying to call in. And that is where you are limited. That is where the work needs to happen. Notice the sensation in the body that comes up around that thought of it should or shouldn't be this way, or I want this, or it's never going to happen for me, right? That sensation in the body is like a messenger. It's like a friend that wants to speak to you, but you have to be willing to sit with it long enough to hear it and allow it its process. We like things to be quick. We're in the day and age of prime delivery, but that's not how God, source, creator, divine universe works. That's not how the body works. And because the body keeps the score, the body holds the key to our subconscious programming, we're going to have to work at the pace of the body, which is a bit slower than what we're used to. The mind wants to talk and it wants to go real quick and it wants to skip over things and say, yeah, we did that already. It's not glamorous. It's not shiny. It's not super sexy to just sit in stillness and listen to your body. But truth is, that's the way to get unstuck. That's how we move into that limitless nature. All right. So we have to really look at what lives inside of us. It can't always be love and light. And that's not always a message we want to hear. But the progress is made in these moments where we feel pulled back. We feel like we took a step back, knowing that, everything's in a spiral. So really we are at a higher level around this thing that we thought we had worked through. But I like the analogy of sort of a rubber band pullback, because sometimes it can feel like we take a step back. But in that pullback, the work that is done ends up catapulting us forward. So we can start to celebrate these moments, celebrate the going into the shadows, the stepping one step back, or the pullback, if you will. Celebrate the illness, celebrate the pain, celebrate the shadow, and know that that is a gift that is showing you what truly lies within you. Because while you think you may know, your intelligent executive functioning is only a small portion of all that is available in your brain, let alone your entire library of resources that is your body. So really get used to looking at your body, your sensations, your emotions, and your thoughts very objectively, that they are all separate, that the brain does not run the show, that the body actually is far more intelligent than the brain. And so the more you talk and the more you say, yeah, I know this already, and the more you distract yourself from being present in and experiencing what's happening in your body, the more stuck you will be. You will move slower through this ascension journey. And if you follow me, I like to use many different sources of ancient wisdom, but in particular, the Bible. And it says that the kingdom of heaven is within, the body is the temple of the spirit, and also the body is not your own. And while in the spiritual community, we have historically deemed this the meat suit so that we can disassociate and astral travel and go out there, it's an unfortunate setback that we caused ourselves in doing that, because the body is such a beautiful gift. It is divine, it is intelligent, it is ascending with us. And we need to formulate a new posture and relationship with the beautiful gift that is our body, that is here to help us in our ascension journey. Right? If we're looking only to the light, we will fail to see. I'm reading a quote here. So we look only to the light. Looking only to the light holds in place the hidden aspects of self that have a great hold over you. That is what's keeping you stuck. I'm going to say that one more time. Looking only to the light holds in place the hidden aspects of the self that have a great hold over you. Now, that's a sort of an amalgamation of a couple of quotes there, but I believe that was partially derived from something Carl Jung said. As you know, he is big on the shadow and the unconscious and the subconscious. And so many times we can think we've got it all figured out and try to move into something or towards something and not be able to get there because of what is living inside of us. And we are holding that in place because we refuse to look at the body, to be still, and to acknowledge that maybe I don't have all the answers. And we use the mind to keep talking, and that cuts us off from what is available to us. Right? As we learn to be present in the body and quiet the mind, we have less need for growth through pain. That it is in our disassociation and our distraction and our avoidance and our chattering monkey mind of a hamster wheel of thought that we ignore the signals. And the signals, when ignored, have to get louder until they force you to pay attention. And so it is that ego-based consciousness where we're trying to control and manipulate and think our way through things that causes a lot of our pain and suffering. So let's learn to suffer. I'm sorry. Interesting. Let's learn to celebrate the suffering. That was Freudian slip, kind of fun. So that we can experience the catapult forward. When we are pulled back, we step back, we take care of what needs to be taken care of, and we are catapulted forward even farther beyond where we were when we first started. The light has returned. Things are getting better. The energy is so much lighter and more hopeful today. And I believe that will continue at least over this next week as we move towards the full moon, which we'll talk about next week. So if you would like any assistance in learning how to get into the body, my links are below. I'd love to connect with you. Your purpose is my purpose. You becoming the limitless creator that you are made to be is what the world needs. This is how we put an end to suffering and step into creating the new earth together as a one community, stepping towards oneness more and more every day. I'm here for you, and I love you, my friends. Namaste.